Conversations with Channelers, we answer questions that many of our viewers are curious about and share a platform that helps humans connect to spirit. Each channeler has their own unique way to bring through information. I am your host, Heidi Freilich. Welcome to our program. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Channelers. Today, we're happy to speak with Jacque Nelson, who channels the Mary group. And this is a special one for Robin and I because we've known the Marys and Jacque for quite some time. It is actually mine and Robin's first experience with communicating with a channeler. So I'll never forget that, and I'm sure Robin won't either. So welcome, Jacque.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome to be here. Thank you. Love to play with you.
Yeah. So why don't you let our listeners know when this started for you? How old were you when it happened?
Oh, how old was I? I'd have to do math, but
Yeah.
we just had our 23-year anniversary with them over the weekend, actually. So
congratulations.
It started in March of 2020. So it's been quite a while. So that would make me, I'm not a mathematician.
Yeah. But 23 years ago. It's been a while. Yep. And so when it first started for you, can you kind of explain what happened, like what was going on with your body and what indicators you had that something was occurring?
Sure. So my husband and I had decided, we were always pondering about wanting to do something different in the world than we were doing. He was a printer and I was a human resource director.
Yeah.
And so we started exploring a lot of things, kind of in, the spiritual realm or, different than everyday life. And I met somebody during one of those things that Don ended up having a session with. And he encouraged us to meditate together for 5 minutes a day and kind of connect in with our guides. And 5 minutes was really brilliant on his part because I'm not good at sitting still and doing that. So we sat down, and the first time, I just felt an odd, interesting energy in me. And I thought, well, maybe that's meditation. And then the second time, I started getting a lot of body movement, like sensations, and my body just wanted to move around, and it felt like something was trying to, situate or move. And I just, still again thought maybe that's meditation, while Don's actually kind of looking over at me going, can't you be still for 5 minutes? I don't know. It's like flailing. And by the third time we sat down together, all of this stuff started coming in, and I knew they wanted to, something in me wanted to speak that wasn't me. Something wanted to, I sat straight up, or actually they wanted to sit up, or that I call them they now because I know them so well, but whatever it was I was feeling was like it, getting me to set up, and I'm very stubborn. And so I said, well, if you're real and you want to sit up, then do it yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Bam, they popped me up like really fast. And then from there, they just popped my eyes open and started talking to Don. And that was like on the third time. So it was pretty quick and fast, but it felt like, of course, and so natural and not unusual. And it was really fun and interesting. They were probably in for about an hour, just chatting with us about different things. Don was asking them questions. They were offering us some insight and information. And when they, could feel it winding down and they were going to leave, Don said, hey, will you be back? And they said, sure, anytime you ask. And so he asked, what can we call you? And the particular being, the one of now is a group, right? It always had been, but just one I felt come through in the beginning. Said, my name was Mary in a lifetime, so you can call me Mary. And so that's where the name came from and how we started doing that. So it just all unfolded from there. Because of course we asked him back.
Yes, of course. Yep. And how did it go, like with with your friendship? People, I know your husband obviously was really into it right from the get-go, but how did it go with your friendships and other family members in the beginning?
Well, I had one good friend who we introduced. I told her what was going on right away. She was very excited. She wanted to know all about it. She wanted to meet him. So we had her come over, and she'll still do a really great reenactment of what that experience was for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then just slowly started letting other people know. I did hold off on telling my family for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the youngest of 8 kids. Grew up in a small town. Would be so far outside of the box. I just didn't know how to bring it to them. So for a long time, I just didn't mention it. And when I finally did, I let them all know. The feedback finally came as kind of like, I don't even understand what you're talking about, but if you're happy, good, kind of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But as far as like starting to like let my personal and local community know, we would just the gatherings and different things we're involved in. We started sharing it, and then we're invited by one of those people who hosted events in her home to come. And it was funny because I said yes. I was really nervous. I'm brand new at this, and she had like 30, 40 people in her home gathered around for this gathering. And I'm sitting in the front of the room. Don's beside me. My eyes were closed all the time back then. And I brought the Marys through. And it was an amazing evening. It was a very emotionally packed evening. One woman spoke about a child who had passed and just her experience with it. And the Marys they're really coming to show up with you, and what do you need in this moment, and how can we help you and give you a different perspective and understanding and insight. And it was a really beautiful night. And then at the end of the night, our friend who hosted us said, I didn't know you were actually going to channel. I just thought you were going to talk about it.
Oh, uh-huh.
And I laughed. I said, oh, well, who wants to sit and listen to somebody talk about it? I could
You
do
want to
that
experience.
very well
Yeah.
all night, but they want to experience it. So to know me, to experience them is to know them. So that's kind of how it started taking off. And then from there, other people who were there invited us to other events, and it just grew.
Okay. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, most family, most people accepted it. Some people I just didn't tell for a long time. And I've had people literally leave my life because it's what we're doing. They think it's not okay.
Yeah.
Which I find very fascinating because they know me.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are like, okay, I want to know more. They're curious. So, and it's either for them or not for them, but they don't kick us out of their life because of what we do. So,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So, Robin, I'm just coming to you for a minute. We've talked briefly about the fact that you have another consciousness that is trying to come in and communicate, Shiva. Can you give us a little information on where we're at with that and how it differs from what Athena in Truth has to offer?
Yes. Well, I'm really fortunate to have Jacque in my life because I don't know how it works for her. I kind of do, but I don't know if it's exactly the same as it does for me. But it's really difficult for me to get information for myself because I start listening. And if I start listening, then I can't receive. And even if I go to my husband and have him try to get something from me, I'm still nosing in there wanting to know what it is that they're going to tell him about me. So I have a really hard time. So believe it or not, channelers come in handy to channelers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of have two things going on, as I've explained before. I had the Athena and Truth group, which is kind of similar to what Jacque had happen. One that is speaking for several, basically, but she's the first one that kind of sat me up to. I didn't ask her to, she just did it on her own. And then I have this Shiva who has named himself. Basically, the way that I understand that, it's kind of a separate consciousness that everybody has within them. The Kundalini energy rests at the base of your spine. And that awakening of that energy that I had has taken over 20 some years to make its ascent up through the mess that's in my body, obviously. So I had to get through all of the emotional blockages and chakras and the system probably that's blocked. And eventually the feminine energy, the divine feminine, meets the masculine energy at the top, which is the Shiva energy. And that's the one that I'm really kind of feeling now and getting the statement that he's arrived. So I'm not really even quite sure what that means or how that's going to unfold, but I just always have an awareness when this is happening because I get an uptick in kriyas, an uptick in bodily sensations facial contortions and movements when a new entity is entering. So this is why you need Jacque when you're me, because so I'm not really, I just have learned just to, I don't get caught up in the experiences anymore. You do get very odd experiences and noises that you make and facial expressions and even flashing around things that happen. And I just kind of allow that to happen and don't really try to put too much emphasis on what the outcome's going to be, because inevitably it's not what you think it is. It's just something else. So I don't know whether Jacque wants to comment on that at all, but that's kind of what's going on with me right now. To tell you the truth, I'm really not sure what it means, honestly.
Yes, I can just say that I can relate to absolutely everything you're saying, and the kind of just, going with it. I did just have a memory of early on one night I asked the Marys for something as I was going to sleep. And the only way I could describe it is I felt like I called them Q-tip angels, like countless Q-tip angels going through every single cell of my being and giving it a fine cleaning, right? Or reorganizing. So you just kind of go, oh, but yeah, the Marys I've been in a store when the Marys decided they wanted me to get something. And so I've been known in stores to like be moving around rather erratically, looking at things in a very different way. And I'm talking to myself, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, I find that I still channel with my eyes closed. I could open them, but to be honest with you, I don't like seeing myself. It's very difficult for me to look in a mirror when I'm doing this. I almost think I look like I'm crazy. So maybe that's something in time, because I haven't been doing this near as long as Jacque has. And I've just decided to allow myself to have them closed right now, because it just feels best. And I feel the most like out of my body that way than I do when I have my eyes open. So I don't know if you want to speak about that, Jacque, if that was a process for you, something that you had to really encourage, or if it was just a natural unfolding. I'd be interested to hear about that.
Sure. Now I primarily still have my eyes closed, just because it's for me, it's the easiest way to be connected in. It's just simple, go in and it comes right away. But I do remember really not opening my eyes at all. And the Marys were going through a teaching with us on like stories we tell ourselves that become true even if they're not. And they used my eyes closed at that point, because people would say, can you open your eyes? Can you open your eyes? And I would try and they would burn. And I'd say, well, I would, but they really burn, or I can try, but they burn. And then they said, for instance, Jacque, open your eyes. And I opened my eyes and it was perfectly fine. They weren't burning. There was nothing wrong or bad about it. It was interesting to realize, in truth, it was great. I love it when they bring a story home. Like, we do tell ourselves stories. We do tell ourselves things that then we believe and make true. Yeah. And so to get past that, and then it's like, now they can be open or closed. My preference is still when they're in, it's kind of natural, actually. Just
it feels like it takes you out a little bit further.
It does. It does. Yeah, more out of me. It's helpful that I can open my eyes now, because we stand in front of audiences.
Yeah.
And they move around. The Marys move around a lot. So that's very helpful to be able to do that without tripping over anything. But yeah, it is. It's so fast. And the Marys always say, close your eyelids across your eyes and let your vision go inward. And when they do that, I feel like that inward, it's not just contained in, who we are, which is infinite in itself. It's kind of like inward into the oneness.
Yeah. I find it funny, as you were just talking and you mentioned, belief in the conversation about your eyes and the burning. Because I remember being in a group session that you had many years ago. And I just want you to know the effect that the Marys had on me in that session, because somehow we got on the subject of viruses. And the Mary group said, well, you do realize that you don't have to choose to participate.
Yes.
Just because everyone else is, you don't have to choose to participate. And that hit me on a level that most things haven't hit me on. And since that day, I'm almost never sick.
Oh, that's
awesome. Because it really hit as a deep truth in me. Yeah. And it stuck with me. I've never forgotten that. I can picture the room and the whole situation that was going on there that day. So
I can feel it as you're talking about it.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because just a quick story on that. We had someone show up at the house. This was years ago also, for a session. I opened the door and he was just like I'm just going to say like very congested, evidently. And I went, no. And I started to say, oh no, I'm going to get that. I went, nope, I'm not getting that. I don't have to take that from the same, no, not taking the pass. And one of us got sick. So it really is. And I love when those truths come out and they register in that place where you go, yeah, that's the truth. And it changes everything. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Another thing that I wanted to also mention is I had mentioned when we first came on that this was Robin's and my first experience, I think, with a channeler when we saw you. And Robin actually came to see you first. And the minute she had gotten done with the session, she called and said, oh my God, you have to do this. And she's like, I think there's an opening tomorrow. And at the time, one of the things, and we can get into how maybe what you do is the same or maybe different, because each group I think has their specialty. And I know your group does do, at least from what I remember, does do stuff with loved ones that have passed and communicating, those messages to the people that you're in front of. And one of those was when Robin was there, both of our parents had passed. And there was some conversation she had had with my dad. And then the next day when I came and I asked something, he was kind of a sarcastic man. And of course the message was, oh, now that you and your sister have figured out that you can communicate, am I going to have to deal with regular visits from you? And I just thought that was kind of funny. Can you kind of describe to the listeners, like, what is Mary's specialty? What do you do the most of when you are channeling for someone?
So I will say, yes, they can do that. That's not their primary focus. They will tend to move with, if they're asked directly, right? Or if it could help enlighten something or help somebody to understand something, then that they will, bring that information through or help you connect in some way. So they really hold people well in that. I would say primarily the Marys, they're really here to just, they help us have a different point of view or perspective or expanded. They talk about, sharing the loft view, because they can see it all. And so they always ask permission if they can come into you. They always say, every answer you're looking for is inside of you. So they're not, grabbing big answer bags in the sky somewhere. They're climbing inside of us and helping us to know what we ourselves are thinking. And sometimes they channel the individual, like they'll say, we have permission to channel you? And it's always so profound and amazing how they can help people to just really hear their own voice and hear what it is they're thinking or needing to know, or where their understanding is and where it can go. So I would say kind of primarily it's about, they say bringing relief, so that we don't ache so much, and so that we can focus on operating from what we do want and what we are choosing for ourselves and for life than what we don't want. So primarily they're just kind of, I don't know, it's like somebody coming in and helping you understand what you've always known but didn't know how to get to. And now that you have it kind of like that, like, oh, I don't have to pass on a virus. And it really does change everything. And it's a simple thing, and yet it clicks. And they help us get untangled from the things we spend way too much time on, and kind of refocused into presence and who we really are as humans. They talk a lot about that we are in a shift. They're here because we're in shifting from energy of separation, which all our systems and stuff are built in right now, to the energy of union, which is our original vibration. It won't be the same union because we've experienced ourselves in differing ways since the original union, and yet it's just so powerful to realize who we really are, and that so much of the stuff we get tripped on isn't even real. And they bring it. They're humorous. They're deep. They're they deliver information to you in whatever way you need it. And so, yeah, sometimes if that's about connecting in with someone who has passed, or even a past life, or recognizing something you need to heal, moving through fractures, or just setting yourself free. They just really move in. They meet each person individually. for where it is, what it is they're seeking. And sometimes they help us know what we're seeking. We don't even know. You know, some people come and they ask the same question each time, and the Marys will just say they need to do that until they're ready. And they get something from having that question answered. And then they look at us vibrationally and they say, oh, they're ready today to actually open something up. Let's go. So it's somebody called him, I always love this one. Someone called him a therapist on steroids.
Funny.
So, yeah.
I have a
Like, what
question.
do you want in your life and how can we help you get there?
I just was wondering, Jackie, if you noticed, like when you first started doing this, because I'm much newer to it than you are, that the group feels totally different than, say, when someone that's passed comes in, or the person's high self comes through. That feels a little bit different than. Does it feel different to you? I'm just curious, or if it feels same in the channeling respect, or does it feel
like how I feel the Marys compared to how I feel someone else's higher
yes.
self?
Is there a little bit of
absolutely,
like
yeah.
something feels different, like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't know if it was Robin feeling it differently, or do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, it would just be the group channeling, but then once in a while, the high part of the other person, while the group was channeling, that would come through, what they had to say about it, what they were feeling about.
The high person of the one they're talking to, or the one they're talking through?
Like, say I'm talking to you right now, we're having a session, and then all of a sudden you would start talking to you through me.
I don't think I'm following for some reason.
So it would be like, okay, so you and I are having a session right now, you know.
Okay.
I'm Athena and I'm talking to Jackie. And then as Jackie is responding to Athena, all of a sudden the high part of Jackie wants to the human.
Yeah, totally. So
and
then
that all of a sudden feels like a whole different animal to me.
Yeah, I call those epiphany moments, or that, yeah, it's funny, you keep saying it, and this is, you know, this is just Mary lingo, but, you know, when people talk about the high, Mary laugh and say, we're just going to encourage you not to refer to a higher self, because you're really indicating there's a lower self, which which your being gets really confused about how they could be wounded through. So then the whole of self in our, you know, expanded vibration comes in.
That other part, whatever you want to call it, comes barreling through.
It can completely feel differing shifts and movements. And I love when somebody gets an aha and you feel them like break through a barrier, and then their own brilliance and wisdom comes through. And then the Marys are talking with us on all our layers. But yeah, and I love, like, if just you and I are having a conversation, that pops open in me. You know, I think that we make room for that in each other. Like the Marys say, when you're not afraid of yourself, you're not afraid of anybody else. And so when we can come into this place with ourselves, we can listen to and talk with anybody and have access and interaction with that greater expanded knowing and insight anytime. So
yeah. So Robin, why don't we share about the fact that your book is now out? It's available on Amazon.
I'd love to show it to you, but I can tell you it's blurry.
Yeah.
But it's called Choose Your Universe, and Exercise in Freedom. And it's basically kind of the teachings, or what it is that my group is wanting to bring through. I'm told there'll be more books, but we'll see. This one I did not write. I'm not a writer. It was channeled. So I just sit down, and I didn't realize that the words could come through my fingers that easily. So that's how this happened. And so I just got that completed actually on the 21st, and it's on Amazon now. So I'm excited about that. Heidi and I are going to do a course, a first course that we've ever done. And Heidi, maybe you want to tell about that a little bit.
Well, we based it off of the book. I wrote the course, but I'm also not a writer, so I find it funny because I'm also not a channeler, but I know to some degree we all channel ourselves, and probably because I've been around the information and then reading the book, I said to Robin how effortlessly it was for me to write, because I felt like once I had a topic, you know, like whatever we were discussing in a chapter, it was very easy for the course just to come out. So that was really helpful, because sometimes, you know, when you want to be a writer and you sit down and nothing comes, it's frustrating. And for the course, it went really well, really fast. We don't for sure have a date yet because there's still some details we're trying to get. Robin and I were working earlier today on just the intros to each section, different things like that. So hopefully it won't be too much longer and we're going to have that out. We're excited to do that because I think even through the process of just writing the questions and the stuff, it helped me myself just doing it. And I actually haven't done it. I just wrote it. So I think that it is going to be really helpful to people and to us, as well doing it. So
Can I ask what it is? What's the course? What do you have any-
so it's based off the book Choose Your Universe.
Mhm.
So each we have right now we have I think 15 sections with 2 parts in each section, and there is some overlap based on there's key points like your guidance system and your self-love and all these different things, and so there are some repetitive sections, perception, all that, but I almost think that is kind of how it's meant to be because it follows the book in order, and those things keep getting kind of brought up again from a different angle. So I think that it's important that the course was written that way as well, because if you maybe got the teaching in section 1 or 2 and now you get a refresher in a later part, it just kind of reaffirms the learning process.
Absolutely.
So I think we have to just go with it as it came out.
Very
And
cool.
yeah. So do you remember when you first met Robin? Did you have any indications, like when you first sat down with her, that this was going to happen in her life as well, or not really?
No, and I have to tell you that when she let me know, I was absolutely not surprised at all. Because of the way that well, I think every single one of us channel in one way or another and all the time, but specifically the way she's doing it. Yeah, I guess I just, I didn't know Robin was going to channel, but I knew Robin was tapped in, and I knew that she would, she could be open to anything coming through. And yeah, I wasn't surprised. So no, I didn't look and go, oh, Robin's going to channel someday, or even say, hey, you have the ability to channel. Yeah, of course. It was kind of like, of course you are. This is so exciting. Yeah. Very cool. And it's been really fun, to kind of get to be one of your touch tones to say, hey, this is what's happening. It's like normal.
Yeah.
I mean, looking back over it now, I didn't know it then, but from the time that I had that Kundalini rising, I did know it. I did, something in me knew it. But I really feel like you were an intricate piece of that, Jackie. I just feel like, when you look back over your life and you look at everything that's kind of unfolded and happened along the way, there are these little markers or things that occur that kind of you keep picking up the breadcrumbs. And I think, just the fascination that I had with it, the fun that I had with it, the friendship that we developed because of it, were all positive things that kind of added to that interest and that desire. So, that's what I always tell people, because a lot of people are interested in it. And I say to them, it's not always as great as you think it is. I mean, it is good, but you know what I'm talking about. There's some pitfalls that you go through along the way. But the good thing about it is that you can create what you want in your life just by loving it, by submersing yourself in it, by your interest in it, by your happiness for other people and what they're experiencing. So, and that's the advice I would give anybody to anything that they want to do. It's just the love of it, the desire of it, the happiness it brings you, and that you see others getting because of it, are all kind of the little breadcrumbs. So whether that is actually creating it or it is actually laid out there, I always used to say, I don't know if it was chasing me or I was chasing it. It's hard to tell sometimes, because it does feel like something that was there that you're just going and picking up. But that's the way I would explain it anyway. But it's sure been fun. Once you get over the I think the biggest thing for me that I'm still trying to grow as a person, the concern about how people are going to peg you, whether they're going to think you're crazy or whether they believe you or whether they're not going to want to be around you, or, you know what, you don't have to be for everybody. I used to try to be for everybody. And when I did that, I started to not even know who I was. I just felt like, and then one day I just like busted out of it. It was like, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to swear, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to have fun, and people either can like it or lump it. And to my amazement, they liked it. You know, they didn't throw me out. So that's kind of my story behind it.
Yeah. I remember some of those moments when you just decided to be Robin. and everything you're talking about, it's for me kind of, I line that up with the more we lean into our yes, our true yes, the more things open up, and the more we realize the life that we really desire, and because it's not based on anything outside of us. It can be complemented by that, and it can offer to that. But it's really like, I think that so often we're trained to put away our internal yes, and kind of even like just yes to being you, to swearing, to being who Robin is, to letting yourself out, to not hiding that. When you said yes, everything gets to come together, and you're free. Our freedom lives within us. It's not something we find outside of it. So.
I really feel like this process really reminds me of what it must like to be gay. You know, when you want to come out and you want to just be who you are, and you don't care what anybody thinks anymore. I just have a new profound respect for those types of things, because I understand the courage really that it takes to do that. Just to be who you are.
Absolutely. Because I will say that, you know, I've certainly had countless, you know, moments over all of these years of that question, really, you know, trying to avoid the question, trying to skirt the question. Well, what do you do? Because, you know, it's like, oh, it's just so much, you know. And then I finally got to where I'm just like, well, jeepers, if I don't feel free, and it needs to be no different to say, oh, I channel, then I'm an architect, right? Or I'm a housekeeper, right? It's just, it's all what we do, and what we exchange ourselves with, and what drives us. Right. And so I got to where I started, but I would give this little teaser line of, well, are you sure you want the answer to that? Because it's loaded, or it's a lot. Or are you sure you're ready for it? And Don finally said, maybe you could just leave that off at the front end of it, because what you want is just for it to be like anything else. So I have, and it's really been fun, actually, just, you know, over the last year, even saying I channel, and people either look at you funny, or they say, what does that mean? Or they go, oh my gosh, and they'll tell you a story. So many people are connected into this, or have an experience with it, and they're so open than are not. It's just, it makes it so much easier, and it shouldn't be taboo. And I know I use the word shouldn't, but it's not a taboo thing. It's life. And the more we can lean into the layers of it. So yeah, it's being who we are, and we are some people's cup of tea and not others. And that's fine.
I mean, there are definitely times when you, someone will ask and it's usually okay, or I'll ask and they'll say it's okay. But there are definitely times where it's just a no, and you just know that you don't do it. You know?
Oh, that's true too. Yeah.
And I would say the hard no isn't hiding. It's just like a no. It's not going to be good for you.
Know that the Mary's spell yes to yourself. I'm just going to not do it here on my own behalf, right?
Yeah, that happens.
So Jackie, I've asked other, I think I've asked this before on other programs, but how would you say that people who are getting messages, you know, because we all get our own messages, but not everybody realizes that they're coming from our high self, and they don't always take it for what it is. Can you give people some tips on how they could identify that they are actually getting messages that are from their high self versus just random thoughts in their brain?
Oh, from their own higher being?
Yeah.
It's the truth. I guess I'd put it that way. There is a differing vibration. It isn't something you manufactured and tried to come to. There's no agenda associated with it. It might surprise you, or it might feel like, of course, and yet you can feel truth moving through you. And so sometimes they just drop in. And I would say that, you know, that's what I could reflect back after I was recognizing that I was channeling. I could look back through my whole life and know so many moments where, you know, the Marys were coming through, and or that, you know, I was opening out into my expanded being that could connect in, without even thinking about it. And so it's a differing sensation. I remember, Heidi, actually you asking me a similar question years and years ago, like, how do I know that something, oh, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but I remember it. I remember your energy around it. You were so earnest and really wanting to know, what do I know is the truth in me or not the truth? Like, is that a real idea or is that a man, and you just feel it. And often, the beautiful thing about, and I know I'm going more into like when spirit's communicating with you than your higher self, but you have to open your higher self to get that connection, right? So,
we have a suggestion.
okay.
Rather than looking for the truth, why don't we talk about what not truth feels like?
Ooh.
How about that?
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's
Then you're going to know right away, Heidi, what the is. This is how we are, in and out. Yes, we are sorry to intrude, but it is something that was right there on the tip of our tongues, because when a human feels the not truth, they know it, but sometimes the truth can be avoided, you see, because of circumstances, situations.
You're right. Even when it's a good truth or a welcome truth.
Absolutely, because there might be some difficulty attached to it, and a human likes to dodge difficulty.
Yeah. Well, Athena, now that you're out,
Jacque, you wondered what could we have to talk about? This one before us. We have a lot to talk about, don't we, Jackie?
We do, but I got to tell you, my characters are coming in soon, so you'll be talking to them.
Get them in here. We would like to engage with them. We would love to hear what it is that they have to say.
Well, why?
Because you are
hello. Yes, we often apologize for intruding also, and yet what we know is it's never an intrusion, is it? When anything comes from any space that it is, and it is coming with a true curiosity and an invitation, it can never be an intrusion. Isn't that so?
It is needed.
Yeah, it's needed. It's actually welcome sometimes before someone knows they welcome it, though. Yes.
I feel as though we are singing a duet right now.
Well, we have been knowing each other for some time.
Yes.
Indeed. Although this is our first, voice to voice connection, we believe. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good. Hello to you. Hello to you, all of you. Yes.
Good day to you. Yes.
Yes. And so what is that? Because, one of the things we've been speaking about is helping people to kind of relieve, like have an unconditional yes for relieving the clench within you. That original clench that kind of informed every other resistance and stop and clench and gripping. And so when you can breathe, so when you mention what does it feel like when it's not truth, it's a denseness, it's a gripping, it's a breathlessness or a heldness, and maybe even a I don't have to be truthful right now, and yet not true relief, because it doesn't take you anywhere.
Yeah. Where does the clench come from? The clench comes from fear. And where does fear come from? Fear is the result of one feeling as though they have no control over their lives, you see. Absolutely. Once you know you are the controller, the determiner, the one that decides, the one that gets to pick and choose what it is you will have or be or do, that fear just goes right out the window, you see. Anyone who is not willing to receive their truth is living in fear in our book.
Absolutely. And hiding. Yes. And it's painful. It's so painful. And that is part of what separation is. You're taught to do that. You're taught that's actually how to be successful in the world. We call it fearful loving. So many people are raised fearfully. They may say, well, my parents did this and this and this. And we can see, sometimes, of course, it is, intentional harm. And yet so often a parent or a friend or a spouse or a child with very good intention will fearfully love you. And it's very limiting. And so you feel as though to make a success in the world, do things that feel good or help me feel safe. And instead, when when you love yourself and others through love that is of loving, there's such a voluminous invitation to explore, to expand, to find out, to live, to be who you are, to celebrate that. Yes, to know I don't have to prove myself or be what anybody else needs or modify myself to fit something. I get to be the brilliant expansiveness of light that I am in quiet ways, in loud ways, in curious ways, in whatever. And so when you can say, oh, wait a minute, I was just confused and trying to form myself to shrink to fit a lesser possibility of me. And you open and you breathe and you realize who you are just as an expression, not because of what you do or what you've, offered or done. It's just the beingness. And then that's where you can feel your truth. And when you connect with others in that way and you invite them to be that way and you're for them for that and you're for you for that, that's what true human is. Instead of one that's clenched or gripped or tightened or trying to survive in fearful loving, it's opening up to love that is of loving, meeting people that way, meeting yourself that way. Absolutely.
Okay.
A human needs to live in their sovereignty.
Yes.
So many humans are following the masses. They are like goats. See? They are simply adopting the ideas and fears and concerns and studies of everyone else. They have no idea that they have a universe that belongs to them, that is sacred and private and producing the results that they are having yielded in their lives. See? One of the things that we are teaching, and we know you are too, is that this sovereign view that you hold of the world is everything. It's the way to get the changes that you want. You are not going to get them by opposing others or deciding that someone is wrong in your judgment of them. This is not how change will occur. The only way to get the change that you are wanting is to become it.
Yes.
To match what it is that you want to see, to receive that, you see. But right now in the upheaval that is being experienced in your world, many are in opposition energy. Many are pushing against and in judgment, and they feel very justified because they are seeing things that they do not want to see. But we are here to tell you today, the only way that you will see what you want to see is to become that view of the world.
We agree. We agree. We would offer, we are hearing a question, even just in the ethers of, how do I begin? Yes, how do I begin my own sovereignty? And, one of the tools you might use is to just, breathe yourself into yourself and then notice all of the tangle, all of the tangle of all that contrast. And of course, we are so fully, in choir with you because, one of what things we like to say is, relieve yourself of against energy. Yes, it never, ever gets you where you want to go. And yet one place to begin is to reach up and see the tangle and just pull your strand out. And
what an easy life you can have if you decide to do this.
Why
would you live in the now?
And whoop, stand there like this, yes? And we know it might be frightening because, well, then I won't belong to anything. Well, is what you're mixed up in that feels so heavy and hard and difficult and is adding to the difficulty in existence. Withdrawing from that, doesn't that just feel better? And you will be joined. We promise you, we guarantee you, you will be joined by so many and so much, even just within yourself. That feels like such an elated pathway, a simple and wonderful place to be. Much laughter, much lightness, and much openness and invitation to expand in that. Yes? Don't be like me, be like you, standing next to me while I'm being me like me. And then we invent something brand new together. Yes?
Yeah, it is true.
So, Robin, would you, as Robin, have any questions for the Mary group?
Well, let's see. What could I ask the Marys today? Do you miss talking to me? I used to be talking to you a lot more than I have gotten to.
We do miss talking to you. You notice us when we come around and nudge you a bit?
Yeah.
We always had such glorious, edgeless, wonderful, explorative conversations with you. Even when you were going, perhaps through some challenging moments or places where you were pulling your strands out of the tangles, and if we might say, yes, and learning of yourself. And the thing is, if Miss, in the sense that you're offering it vibrationally, we always welcome conversation with you. And we also share that we haven't missed a beat. Yes. Indeed.
Well, I'm very grateful to have you as a resource because, as you know, what we've been talking about, there's a lot of changes and things to try to understand. And I'm just trying to let go and let things unfold, as they're supposed to. But if you have any wisdom or advice that you would offer me in that regard, it would be appreciated.
We would just, we really, we're going to have a little bit of fun and say, keep salivating. Keep activating your saliva glands and having a real taste for life and what you love about it. It's so easy to notice what's for you and what's not for you, and not through judgment. We often say, is it a match or not a match? Yes. And to lean into that and truly, we would have everybody walking around with a juicy mouth. Yes. Because it is activate your saliva glands. They're wonderful in your physical digestion. Yes. And yet they're also so extraordinary in how you digest what you interact with in life. And so activate them, really get a taste for what feeds and nourishes you, and go with that in your life. And you are doing that. We see you leaning into that and really opening that. And we're so very excited you open the door for your communication and your channeling, because it is so well held with such integrity and absolute coming through you. And we would offer it as you are a pure and trusted source, which is why you are open to that. And it isn't that, everybody doesn't have their ability. It is yours goes in the direction of assisting others. And so to find as much pleasure in what you do in your work with this as you do in, playing with your grandbabies. Yes. So it is just activate your saliva glands into everything. And even then when you run into a moment where what's on the plate isn't exciting or doesn't feel good to you, it can be just as enjoyable to choose to move another direction, or to know that you're at a completion, as it is to know you're leaning into something that has far to go.
Thank you.
I don't normally ask a question, but in this situation, I would like to ask, is there anything that I could do or that I should be doing that would be more assistive to this whole process that Robin and I are trying to do together here with our courses and having the YouTubes? What could I do myself personally that would help that process move better, faster?
Heidi, and it's so good to be in your energy field. Thank you for inviting us. We remember it well. It's very enjoyable. We just want to say to you, have a hell of a good time. Yes. And so really, because you have a beautiful earnestness to do it really well. And one of the things that we offer, and perhaps this is remember to inhale as you exhale. And what we mean by that is remember to take in the nourishment of what you're experiencing as you're offering out what you have to offer into it. And then it is this beautiful movement. It isn't trying to get to, can I do it better, or should I do something differently? It's standing in the presence with yourself in every moment, knowing I am here as an add and as an answer, and I'm gathering adds and answers from everything I'm interacting with. And trusting your movement and feeling your own nudges. We would say, it isn't about improving. It's about just really maybe widening your excited, ease-filled embrace of all of it. Yes?
I would just add to that, Heidi, as I was unboxing these books today, when I came to my house, I said to Dave, you know what really is the best about all of this? And he said, no, what? And I said, I'm so satisfied, but I'm satisfied because I'm doing it with you. That's why. So
Appreciate that.
if I were doing it any other way, and I think, wow, what could the universe send you when you're this satisfied? You know, really
Oh, isn't that a fun question?
yeah. So it's just like a perfect storm for me.
Yes,
Like it just, you know, it makes me not really care what people think. It makes me want to grow. It makes me want to do more. It makes me want to feel better. And that's really all because of you. So
thank you for that. It's very nice. It's really been a fun opportunity, and I think that there's a real good balance between the two of us and how we work as a team. So that's been really fun too.
And may we ask you a question, Heidi?
Yeah.
Associated with that.
Yeah.
What is something more, or what is a nutrient you'd like to call in to add into the mix? For you.
For me personally?
Yeah, for you.
Well, I would say one that I've been working on for a long time and I'm evolving closer to is just to feel free and to feel like I'm pursuing what myself wants to pursue and not factoring in other things in my life. I mean, obviously you have to factor in other things in your life, but not letting that shut me down, you know, to just be more free. Yeah.
Beautiful. So perhaps pulling your strand out of tangles. Yes.
Yeah.
And because it doesn't mean you're leaving those things that are associated with it ever. It's just, I need to feel as your beautiful gathering offered, Robin, your sovereignty and the true freedom of that. And you know, the two of you are excellent partners in a beautiful agreement to rise one another up. And so to know if I can experience that here, I can choose that for myself in all of my interactions and ask for it, because you get to ask. People can offer yes or no to anything, and yet give yourself the freedom of the ask. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
That is the biggest thing that people forget to do.
Yeah, it is.
The universe is a generator of asks.
Yes.
It's all it wants to do. A human will say, I have to stop talking and thinking negatively. But we say, well, what have you asked for? You've asked where your car is. You've asked where the new house is. You've asked where the mate is. And all the universe did was supply you with what you believe, what you are thinking that is preventing you from having what it is you're asking for. So it never stops this. This is all the universe does. If humans could really understand this mirrored effect, this cause and effect, you'd get it all figured out, wouldn't you? All you would have to do is emanate what it is you want to feel, and the universe would simply generate that back to you. It really is that easy. We could end this conversation like that. You see?
Yeah. And if you need to know how to get to the ask for that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now we know why you are friends.
Yeah. So if I could pull Jackie out for a moment from the Marys, and just ask if there's anything that Jackie would like to ask of Robin in her, or I shouldn't say Robin, of her group.
This is such a rare treat for me, because I will say that I don't really interact with a lot of people who do this work. It's just, I just don't. And with Robin, absolutely. I'm so excited. And that's not a diss to anybody else I know who does. It's just, I don't take the opportunity often. Gosh. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to get real personal about it, I suppose. We are in a stage of really looking to see where else and what else we might do with our work with the Marys. And, you know, tapping into the avenues, Mary calls them the vibrational strands of creation, to really excel. So I'm going to ask you, Athena, what's the best route for me to follow my yes and shine in who I am in the world and in the work that I do in the world?
Yes. We would highly recommend that you are putting much effort into private sessions, lots of it, yes?
Mhm.
And sometimes when you are going in a direction and it becomes destabilized or a struggle a bit or difficult, it's not that you don't like doing it. We are not saying this, but it is work. It is becomes repetitious or tedious to one when you've done it a number of years. And so more of the group or more getting yourself in a position or place where lots of viewers are seeing you, where lots of interviews are being had, where you are publicly known, you see. You are loved and revered and somewhat, we would say, endeared by these that you do the sessions for. They are your friends, they are your people, they count upon you, you see. But we also want to let you know that you are for you too. You are for your own growth, for your own expansion. And sometimes we have to leave our friends behind in order to do this, or to move to the next plane or level that we are wanting to get to. So we know what holds you. We know what tethers you. It is your heart. But we want your heart to grow to include you, that you become the most important aspect or part of what it is that you do. Because to some degree, you have given yourself away to it, to the degree that you cannot expand to the level that you can expand if you get this understanding or awareness, you see. So share yourself, get yourself on these large platforms. You will be well received, and start to grow or expand in a direction that will yield you more visibility and more opportunity. Does it make sense to you?
Absolutely, and thank you. And you're spot on. And it's so thrilling to me to have this opportunity again, as Robin mentioned earlier, that we don't ask our own questions because we get in our own way a bit in the midst of that. Mary's response to me has often been, "There's so many people we haven't met yet."
Yes.
And yet
You talked about the entanglement.
Yeah.
And the entanglement can happen in your work too.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it is wonderful, meaningful, even though it is everything to you. But if you are gnarled in and not allowed to expand out, it's time to pull out that thread. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Will you be right there with me when I do it?
Absolutely. We would love to do this anytime that you want to. We are so ecstatic to have this opportunity to visit with you. We feel as though we've been given a gift today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, Jacque, would you like to tell our listeners if they want to get in touch with you, how to get in touch with you, what kind of services you offer?
Yes. Well, I think to mention some of it.
Yeah.
She may not be doing any more private.
We did just update our website, which is themarygroup.com, and it's MARY. We've had people look up MERRY, which could apply to the Marys.
Sure.
We do 6-week classes online. Our new one starting up, the information the Marys have given me so far, and it'll be coming out the next week, is if it's a voice inside of you, then you need to decide the direction of where it takes you. And it's really about what's going on in here and how can we really, be best friends with ourselves and greatest cheerleaders and creators. And not, everybody's got that innate voice in there. So let's befriend it and find out what we need to do. We do private sessions. I do those over Zoom. We are doing our first public appearance in Milwaukee at the Dare to Be Aware Fair on April 15th in like 2 years because of, everything that happened in the world. And then, so the Marys will be speaking there, and I'll also be bringing my art. I'm an artist.
Nice.
And so it'll be one of the first times I've brought it live out into the world. And I've always said, wow, I really just want to get this in front of people because you can feel it.
Yeah.
So yeah, go to our website. We do meditation series. We have meditation series that are for sale on there. We have, the Marys are doing these really cool things with symbols. They're creating the vibration of a word in symbol form, and they speak. They're really loud. They're amazing. So you can connect with that. So just pop on. It's so funny. I just talked to Athena, and I can feel how people are now. You're a little bit like, okay, I need to let all of that kind of assimilate through me. But
it was really fun getting to talk with you again. I know it's been a while since I've even had a session with you. Now that I have Athena, I'm always seemingly talking to them, but I really appreciate you coming on. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. And I just, to our friendship, it's been one of the most treasured things is, the people that this work has brought into my life, and that they had become friends. I've watched your families grow into like adults with their own kids. It's just extraordinary to get to be in that journey with you. And thank you so much, both of you, for having me on. And I'm so excited about your book, Robin, and your series you have coming up, Heidi and Robin together, and look forward to more. So
thank you. It's really a pleasure seeing you.
You too.
Thank you.